Hello and welcome to the Tough Girl Podcast, a 3-time award-winning show that aims to motivate and inspire you while increasing the amount of female role models in the media, especially in relation to adventure and physical challenges. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. If you're passionate about adventure, challenge and learning from women who have overcome obstacles and achieved remarkable things, then this is the podcast for you. Every Tuesday at 7 a.m, new episodes go live featuring incredible women who share their stories, insights and tips to help you achieve your dreams and goals. You can support the Tough Girl mission by signing up as a patron. Visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. Keep listening until the very end as I share more information about what's going on with me with Tough Girl Challenges, give shout outs and recommend other Tough Girl Podcast episodes. More information can be found at toughgirlchallenges.com.
So I'm Linda Blakely. I turned 50 this year and I live in London. So I would describe myself first and foremost as an Ironman athlete who sort of goes off piste every now and again. So I like to do various challenges. And I also set up a company running small children's care homes as well. So I have to juggle sport and business together. So we've got 3 homes in London and Essex, and we look after children who carry trauma and struggle to regulate their emotions, and also look after children with learning disabilities.
Oh, that's fantastic. Have you always done that?
We've been going for about 20 years now. So yeah, our homes are good and outstanding as well. So it's a nice release from the stress of training. So the struggle is quite pleasant and nice because I get to do the nice things with the kids.
Oh, and then, I mean, I was going to say, like, my mind automatically just sort of went, I could be completely off piece here. I was thinking, does that mean that you had like quite a traumatic sort of childhood and growing up and that you wanted to pay it forward and make a difference?
No, not at all. I sort of fell into it, actually. It's a funny little story. My sister was having a baby in Thailand and she was out there on her own. So I went over to be with her to support her when she was having Chris, my nephew. And because he was coming a week late, I went off to one of the islands and I met these guys from Liverpool and I spent 4 days with them and they ran children's homes in Liverpool. So they were telling me all these stories about it and how great it was. And it was just so inspiring. And I thought, I would really love to do this. And I had been looking for some sort of direction myself like a career to start. And so I came back home, thought about it for another year and then just started it from that. So it was really going to Thailand and meeting the guys from Liverpool that started it all.
I love sometimes these random meetings and these like random connections and how it can sort of completely change the direction of your life.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had a sister. What was your childhood like growing up? Were you sporty? Were you active? Were you into swimming, running, cycling?
I was into everything. So I grew up in Northern Ireland, probably the accent's a small giveaway. And it was actually during the 70s. So I was born in 74 and I grew up during the time in Northern Ireland called the Troubles. So it did seem perfectly normal to me to have the army in the streets and like bombs in the news every night and, shootings and things. Because Lurgan, where I was born and bred, is a large town. And even from a young age, you sort of accept the segregation between Catholics and Protestants, and you sort of accept the daily fighting and petrol bombs and everything. It's kind of only when you grow up and you move away that you look back on it and you think, okay, maybe that was a little bit weird. But at the time, it was just perfectly normal for us. I was, we were free. I would ride my bike in the streets. I went to every club going, like gymnastics, dancing, swimming club. I did my Duke of Edinburgh as well there. That's where my love of the mountains came from. So although it was in the Troubles, I had a great childhood and it was very, very free. We could go out and do whatever we wanted. And I was, very, very active. In fact, my dad used to say, can you not just stay in the house one night?
So what happened sort of like, after your teenage years, early 20s? Is that when you got into Ironman? When did that happen?
Yeah. So I moved to London and just worked in various jobs. That's why I sort of bummed around for about 10 years and then wanted to start when I went to Thailand for my sister's baby, then that's kind of when I was looking to start a proper career. So I didn't really have anything tangible then at the time. So in those 10 years, I didn't really do any sport. By the time I did my first Ironman, I think it was about 34. So because I've been sporty as a child and then not sporty as when I came to London and was just working and dropped sort of sport for about 10 years, then when I picked it up again, it was just because they did a little, it's like a super sprint, sort of almost as a bet, really, as a bit of a joke. And I did it and I trained for 6 days and did it and I really enjoyed it. And then I thought, okay, maybe, I could train a little bit more and be a little bit better. And so then me being me has to look for the longest one or the highest one or the furthest one. So I signed up for an Ironman and got myself a coach. And then that started me on the Ironman route.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about sort of the Ironman journey. I mean, looking back, you've done, is it 15 that you've done now?
I've done 25 full ones. I don't count the halves. And those include, I've done 3 Konas as well.
Oh, incredible, incredible. So let's almost take it from, you're reflecting back on doing your first Ironman and then going to the World Championships in Kona and just, I suppose, where you were sort of 10 years ago, what that experience was like, and then just sort of maybe like the journey of how you've grown and developed and improved on your skill and your craft. What did you look like back, not look, when I say look like, I don't mean
a lot younger. Less wrinkles. I've always been slim, so I've not changed much sort of from the neck down. But my first one I did Ironman Nice, which is a very hilly one, and I think it took me about 13 hours or 13 and a half, something like this. But I just loved it. And it wasn't just on the day. It was the journey to get there as well. The day-to-day structure and the training. I really enjoy that discipline. And if I don't have that, if I'm not doing my Ironman training, I do feel a little bit lost, actually. So I enjoy that structure. When I did France and finished the finish line, I had to fight back the tears, to be honest, and I'm not like a very emotional person. But for me, it was such an achievement, and that was it. From then, I was hooked. I thought, right, what's the next one? So I've sort of clicked off many, traveling around the world, gone all over the place to collect them.
So you must have done roughly is that doing roughly one a year?
Well, when I started, I went a little bit mad, as I usually do. I was doing about 3 a year. As I've gone further down and got more competitive in my age group, it's more about qualifying for Kona. And then I want to hit Kona in a good sort of physical state, not just going to, complete it, but actually going to race it and get a good position. And so I don't do as many a year, probably 2 now, because I need to do my qualifying 1 and then Kona. So moving forwards, I'll sort of be doing 2 a year. But I've not done any for 2 years because of the rowing.
I might be completely wrong, but I'm sort of getting the impression that almost like, when we talk about like the training, that's something that you really obviously enjoy doing. It's a part of your life. It gives you like that structure, that routine. Obviously, you're getting endorphins. But I'm just wondering how good at you are on the rest and recovery side. Are you good at that?
Yeah, I do take recovery very seriously in like the things I do to recover. Like I will always make sure I've got a protein drink like ready when I come in, or I've got food within that window. And I'll always make sure like I put if it's been a very tough session, like a long run or a long bike, I'll use the recovery boots after. So I'll make sure that I'm putting back into my body, what I've sort of thrashed out of it. But if you're talking about, am I good at downtime and not doing anything? Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to sort of I don't have rest days. I don't think you need rest days, and neither does my coach, apparently. So yeah, we just keep rolling forwards, and it'll go like there'll be hard days and there'll be easy days. So I guess those are like the rest days. But I do take my recovery seriously.
So if you were to sort of rank yourself in running, swimming and cycling, you know, which is your favorite and which are you, you know, in air quotes, the best at? And is that the same, or is there different rankings? You know, talk through each of like the individual sports.
Yes. So if the swim wasn't an Ironman, you would not find me anywhere in a swimming pool ever again. It's a bit of a necessary evil, I'm afraid. I find it boring. I go through ups and downs of swimming's all right. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'm enjoying it now. Oh my God, I absolutely hate it now. I never want to do this again. But you just, you know, it's part of the journey. It's part of the race, and you have to do it if you want a good result. You can't really afford to win your age group if you've got like a weakness. So you kind of need to be solid across all three disciplines. So I'm good. I am a good swimmer. I just find it quite boring. And the bike used to be my weak link, actually. I used to come out the swim in a good position, and then every man and his dog would pass me in the race on the bike leg. And I would get back most of them though in the run, because I've always been a good runner. Yeah, the bike was the weak link, but I've worked on that now with my coach. So we've got that into a good position where now I would say I'm actually quite strong on the bike. So I've got a good swim, got quite a solid bike, and I can run pretty well. So I think I put an overall good race together. I've never really got the fastest split in any one in my age group, but I'm usually like one of the fastest across all three. So that tends to be good enough to put me on the podium.
When you say you worked on your bike, you know, what did that look like? Was it a skill thing? Was it training? Was it strength and conditioning? You know, what did you work on improving?
Yes, the strength in the legs and doing big gear efforts on the bike. So I think that's probably what my coach has put into the program. Whatever he writes, I just follow it. So I don't usually ask too many questions. So, but he's been pretty good at sorting out the weak link that I had when I went to him.
You've done loads of incredible challenges, but obviously I think, you know, talking about Ironman really gives us an idea of like sort of your fitness foundation, especially, you know, doing 3 Ironman a year or 1 or 2 Ironman a year, building up to it. You've also done some phenomenal mountaineering accomplishments and also done a solo row across the Atlantic. Which one of them came first?
So with my Ironman racing, I like to just every now and again, if I get to, because it's in 5-year increments in your age bracket, when I get to the end of an age bracket, I kind of think maybe I should do something. So the mountain came first. Everest was first. And like I said, when I lived in Lurgan, I did my Duke of Edinburgh. And that was where my love of the mountains began. And so I did climb some mountains before I did my first Ironman in 2010. So I had sort of ticked off. When I moved to London, I sort of started having little trips to do like Mont Blanc and Killy and Denali and Aconcagua. But then came a bit of a gap. When I started my Ironman race in 2010, I just fell in love with Ironman. And so the mountains kind of stopped. But then one day I went to, you know, the IMAX cinema. It had Everest, the disaster movie on. And I was there with my friend Mel. And it was such an experience having those glasses on. It was like the mountain was there right in front of me and I was on it. And it was so beautiful that at the end of watching the film, I left with my mate Mel and I said, Mel, I've got to go now. I've got to go and do Everest. This is a sign. This is it. And so that was it. That was the reason why I thought, finally, I'm going to go and do this mountain.
What did Mel say?
She's my best friend. She's kind of used to things that Linda says. And usually she has laughed at me. She said one day, I need to be more Linda. She said, when you say you're going to do things, she goes, yeah, you tend to kind of go and do them. So quite funny. She's a big supporter. She's also an ultra runner, so she's a nutter as well. So she kind of does get me.
So this is what I find really interesting, because I know that people will go to cinema or listen to podcasts or read books or, you know, watch YouTube videos and just think, do you know what, I really, really want to go and do that, whether it is an Ironman or go and climb Mount Everest. But I think what fascinates me is it's taking that idea, that dream, going from that starting point to the mountain and back down safely again. So with this, like, how did you start? What are the logistics? I mean, my first sort of question is, you know, it's, I feel as though your fitness is on point, but, you know, funding, paying for it, training, even getting out there. What does part of the journey look like?
Yeah. So, well, I did it on the cheap way anyway. So I didn't go with the big commercial outfit. And again, I sort of fell into that as well. Life seems to happen to me because when I decided I was going to climb Everest, I thought I better go and do a recce. So I'll walk to base camp first and I'll climb some of the smaller peaks, the 6,000ers like Island Peak and Loboucher. So I was there happily trotting off to base camp and climbing the smaller ones in the area and just near Everest. And I was in a group and there was an American climber called Bob. And as other people in our group sort of got sick and dropped away, then there was only me and Bob left at the end. And we got on really well. And Bob's a good climber. And he obviously thought I was a good climber because my plan actually was to do Cho Oyu first, as it's considered like the easiest, if you could say that, of the 8,000ers before I was going to do Everest. But then when I came back home and I was happily getting on with my life, one day out of the blue, Bob sent me an email saying that he'd organised some guys from a local Nepali outfit called Go Trek and that he had it all planned and was going to go off and climb Everest and would I like to join him? So I kind of thought for 2 minutes and then I replied, yeah, okay, let's go. Let's do this.
Was Bob paying for you to join you? Because I need to be a...
No, I had no. But yeah, no. He obviously paid for his part and I paid for mine. But doing it this way, it was a lot cheaper. So then, you know, one of the big commercial outfits. And it was just me and Bob really and some of the local Nepali guys. And we had a very nice, my Sherpa was called Angelu. He was an amazing guy. And, we had an American, Craig Van Hoy, who was our base camp manager. And so they were great guys. So our team was small, but we had some really, really nice guys, you know, backing us. So yeah, it was just me and Bob really.
After getting that email and committing, like how much time did you have? And in terms of like the training for it, you know, did you hire like a mountaineering coach? You know, what was the fitness looking like? Like, I'm like automatically, I'm always starting to think, I'm starting to panic. Like, I don't know why I'm starting to panic, but I'm like, because then suddenly it's like, you're climbing the highest mountain in the world. It's a big mountain. It's risky. There's, you know, lots of dangers. Like, how do you prepare, like mentally? And just, like, what was that like?
Well, I'll tell you, by the time I set out to fly to Nepal, I literally wanted to set fire to the Stairmaster in the local gym because I had sweated all over every step on that Stairmaster. Like 3 times a week, I would do 3 hours on it. And I'd have a rucksack on my back with 15 kilo core bag in it. I'd 1.5 kilos strapped around each ankle. And yeah, I would just go and tread on it for 3 hours, 3 times a week, plus do lots of step ups on the box, starting with no weight and then putting the bar on and then increasing the weight. So everything for the quads and lots of mimicking the exercise that I was going to do on the mountain, the stepping. So yeah, and after the mountain, I've never stood on a Stairmaster again, and I never will.
Was the 1.5 kilograms around the ankles, is that how much the boots would weigh?
Yeah, that was the boots. Yeah, they're heavy and the crampons as well.
Were you working with like a personal trainer, or literally it was the Stairmaster and climbing?
So I had a personal trainer from Poland called Frederick, and yeah, he's such a lovely guy, and we did have a lot of fun in the gym. He would think up great things for me to be doing that would mimic, the stepping on the mountain, like the box, and just strengthening the core. So that was before I had my Ironman coach that I have now, Declan Doyle. He's my Ironman coach now. But when I did Everest, yeah, it was Frederick.
What were your concerns before you went over? Like, in terms of the risk? I know you've got to sign some pretty interesting waivers, like a choice of, do you leave your body on the mountain? Do you pay to get it collected? I suppose the reality of when that happens, did you have concerns? Were you fearful?
I think you don't do things like that without it crossing your mind anyway. If you know you're going to go up Everest, or you're going to go and row an ocean solo with absolutely no one around you, you do accept that there is a chance, you could go and not come back. I'm okay with that because, you want to do these adventures, and that's what gets the adrenaline going for me, really. It's exciting. Obviously, I want to survive to do a lot more, but you accept the risk. You'd be crazy if you didn't spend some time thinking about it. And yeah, when you get to base camp, you are given the options. You've to sign, like you say, that form that says, what if you die in the mountain, what do you want to happen to your body? And the first option is you can be left where you are, and that one's free. The second option is you can be brought down, if possible, to have a cremation ceremony, but with the monks in one of the monasteries. And then obviously the last one is which is very expensive, but if you want to be repatriated, if it's possible at all. So yeah, you've definitely faced it then.
What I was going to say, what did you choose? And I thought, that's a bit too personal.
Oh, you know what? My mom didn't know I was climbing Everest. So I thought, if I'm going to die on this mountain, I better be repatriated if at all possible, because that, would be the last thing. Because I only told my mom I was going trekking, in Nepal. So she didn't know I was climbing the mountain, because I know what my mom's like, and she would have worried. And in fact, then I would have worried about her worrying, and it would have affected me. So what was really hilarious was you do the rotations on the mountain when you go from base camp up to camp 1, and then back to base camp, and then up to camp 2, and then back to base camp, and then 3, etc. And so when I got back to base camp each time, I'd phone my mom and she'd be like, what's the weather like? So I'd be talking away, saying, oh yeah, we're going to go through some more villages, Mom, but it's going to be, they don't have phone reception, so I can't phone you it's going to be another week now. And the guys in the background are just laughing, and they're like, does your mom really not know what you're doing? And I'm like, yeah. So what was funny actually was when I did come back, I was going to be in the local paper at home. So I flew home and I went and got the paper and brought it back to her and showed her, and she saw my picture and she's like, oh, that's lovely, lovely, lovely. And then she read it and she's like, but you didn't climb Everest? I said, I did, Mom. And she goes, when? And I said, well, when I was aware. And she goes, you never told me.
I really understand that though. Especially because the last thing I would ever want to do is to worry my mum. And so, and then to know that oh God, no. Cause I know that she's not going to be sleeping. She'll make herself ill. It's just it'll be too much stress for her to handle. So last thing I would want to do. How was your summit? Did it go according to the plan and the strategy? What was summit night like for you?
Yeah, the summit was, I find the climbing on Everest, the climbing part was quite easy, actually. That's the bit I really enjoyed. Once you got all your kit on, that the living conditions is the hardship. That's probably the negative part of it, is everything's really, really difficult to do. But once you're all ready and you're up and you're moving and you're just going forward all day, it's really nice. And to get out of your tent, because the slower climbers, they leave first from high camp. So by the time me and Ankalu came out of the tent to leave, we could see this street. It's completely dark night, and there's just a row of red lights going all the way up. So you can't see the mountain, but all you can see is this stream of red head torches, and it just looked incredible. It was beautiful, and you think, oh, they're all climbers going. So yeah, it was really nice. But when I got to the summit ridge, I don't suffer from vertigo and I don't have a problem with heights, but I tell you, that is not for the faint-hearted. It's like somebody put an obstacle course on a tight wire with steep drops on either side. And to be quite honest, I wasn't comfortable. Yeah, I really didn't enjoy the summit ridge. The South Summit itself was beautiful. But you sit there for a little rest. There's not many places you can stop to actually sit down, but that's the classic sort of photo with the ridge going up behind you. But yeah, the summit ridge I didn't enjoy. So when I was standing on the top, I was quite happy, but I knew I still had to go down. And I was kind of thinking, oh God, I've got to go back down that ridge again. So I was enjoying it, but I knew it wasn't over, so I wasn't like dancing for joy or anything. And also because I decided when I applied for the permit for Everest that I would apply for the permit for Lhotse as well. So I went with that in my back pocket thinking, if I get up Everest, maybe I'll have a go at Lhotse as well. So when we were up there, Angelus pointed over to Lhotse and he said, oh, see, that's the top of Lhotse. We'll be standing there before this time tomorrow morning. And after having done the summit ridge, the way I was feeling at that point in time, I was like, we'll see about that. So we got back down and got into the tent on the South Col. And I said to him, is the summit ridge, is it like that? Because I really didn't enjoy that. And he said, no, it's not like that. It's quite sort of simple and straightforward, just climbing, not like all the obstacle course. And I said, is there rocks? Because I didn't really like the crampons on the rocks. You don't get purchased. So I didn't really like all the scrambling over the rocky bits. So I said, is there any rocks? And he goes, no, there's no rocks. So I thought, okay, well, let's just have some tea, have a few hours sleep. Although you can't really eat and you don't really sleep either. You just sort of close your eyes and rest at that altitude. So we did rest for a few hours and then we got our bags ready. And so off we set again. And I said to him, let's just go for a walk and we'll see. Let's not even think about the summit. We'll just see how far we get. And so we set off and we just kept walking and walking and walking. And it actually was really nice because Lhotse's got the Japanese couloir. So he was right in that it wasn't like the summit ridge on Everest because it was kind of just walking up. And it was a bit like walking in a tube. You didn't have the views that you got off Everest because you're kind of stuck in this couloir literally all the way till you come out near the top. And I was ahead of Angelou. And when I came out near the top, I looked up and I saw all these rocks. So I shouted down, so much for there not being any rocks. So he laughed. But also what was quite sad was, on the rocks, there was a man sitting there and he had obviously passed away and he'd been there for about 5 years, but he was literally right on the climbing route and literally not have your body pressed on him. You have to pull back from the rope quite a bit to step over him. And when I stepped over him, I tapped his knee. I sort of just to say, oh, it's all right, mate. It's a bit of respect, really. But I think from now, he's been brought down because I summited in 2018. So that was quite sad. And again, moments like that bring it back to you where, you all go out with a big dream, but not everyone comes back. So I count myself very, very lucky and very blessed. So me and Angelou, we got to the top, got back down again safely. So that was good.
And were you doing it with oxygen or no oxygen?
Yeah, oxygen from Camp 3. Everybody's kind of like most people, 99% people go on oxygen from Camp 3 on the Lhotse face.
I suppose looking back on it now, like it's such a phenomenal achievement. But were you the first person to do or the first woman or the first person to do the double?
Yeah, well, I was the first British female to do the Everest Lhotse traverse. Yes, to make the traverse, you have to go from the top of one straight to the top of the other. Without you go down via the South Col, but you're not allowed to go any lower. You must make the actual traverse as it is between the two mountains. So I was the fourth female in the world and the first British female to do that.
Oh, so is there Camp 4 up there? So didn't you go back to camp? So you're allowed to go back to Camp 4 and then carry on to Lhotse?
That's right. Yeah, because Camp 4 is in the South Col, so it's literally in the saddle. It's the most desolate, barren place on the planet. Let me tell you that it's not a place you want to hang around. When you get to Camp 4, yeah, it's not fun.
When did it really sink in? Did it sink in immediately once you finished this challenge, or did it take a while?
Yeah, I think it took a while actually, because there's still so much stuff going on in your head. And even when we got down back to base camp, I still wanted to walk back down to Lukla. I think a lot of the climbers helicopter down, which I kind of feels a bit like cheating. I've walked here, so I've walked all the way up the mountain. I'm going to walk all the way back down again, so I'm not going to helicopter down. So, so we walked all the way back to Lukla and then got stuck in really bad weather. Couldn't get out of there. So there was a lot going on. So when I got back, the weather didn't clear until like one day before my international flight to fly back home. So it was all a bit of a rush. Bags were left on the mountain as well. It was because we had to come down at different times from the bags. So yeah, there was a lot of logistics and stuff. So it didn't really settle in until I was back home, I guess, and sort of stopped for a bit.
Do you ever get like adventure blues, or and are you straight away almost like looking for the next challenge, or are you quite
Absolutely.
good at? Okay.
Absolutely. It's the only way to deal with the adventure blues, because they are real. You spend so long looking forward to doing something. I guess you know this as well, right? So you just plan the next one. I love planning. I'll sit on the laptop planning stuff. I love it.
So in my room, I've got like a giant map on the wall, like one of those wallpaper maps that takes over the whole wall.
Yes.
And I'm trying to do work. Like I'm trying to edit podcasts or editing vlogs. And then I'll just be looking at the map. And then I might have spoken to someone who's, walked to Rome, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I could walk from Rome to home. And then I'll just have a quick Google. And then suddenly I'm going, then I'm looking at GR5 and then the GR20. And then I'm like, oh, the Pyrenees. And then before you know it, a couple of hours have passed. It's like, no, focus. What do you think you've learned about climbing Everest? Is the reality, does it match up?
Yeah. I mean, for me, Everest is the most beautiful place on the planet. There is nowhere like the Western Cwm, which is in between Camp 1 and Camp 2. It is absolutely stunning. It's the flattest part you can find on Everest, although it's not flat, but it's a gradual incline from Camp 1 up to Camp 2. You've got Everest rising on the left side of you. You've got Lhotse rising majestically straight ahead of you, and Nuptse on to the right. So you're surrounded by these 8,000 peaks. It's beautiful. It's almost sacred in a way. It's absolutely stunning. Rowing the ocean was like a challenge in a different way. Although it was a lot harder, the ocean was a lot harder than Everest, but Everest was absolutely stunningly beautiful. There's nowhere on the planet like it.
I mean, let's talk about rowing the Atlantic Ocean, rowing from Gran Canaria to Barbados, 3,000 miles. You decided to go sort of solo and unassisted. Tell us more about that challenge. Again, how did it come about? How did you go and make it happen? Was there somebody sort of saying, oh, I think I'm going to do this? How did you get into ocean rowing?
I'm a member of the Orion triathlon team. So there was one of the guys, Sam, he rowed it in the official race, which used to be called the Talisker race. And that's when he did it, when it was called the Talisker. Now it's called the world's toughest row, the Atlantic. But I think everyone just still calls it the Talisker.
Yeah. I was going to say, let's not confuse it. Yeah, it's a yeah.
Yeah, the world's toughest row, the Atlantic is just too long to say.
Yeah.
But he did it as a team of 5, and he did this little presentation over Zoom. And I was watching it and I thought, oh, this would be great to do. And then I just decided, I was going to do it. I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to try for the record. And then I started, you start Googling everything and planning, and that set me off. Yeah.
I read an article that you did in Women and Home, and the story is titled "The Extraordinary Unfolding Story of a Woman on a Mission to Help Children with Rare Diseases and Prove Menopausal Women Are Still a Force to be Reckoned With," which I absolutely love. Raising funds for charity, but also to prove that menopausal women are still a force to be reckoned with. How was like the menopause for you, and sort of rowing in your 50s? Like, how was your body coping with the physicality of the training?
I went through the menopause when I was 47. And that was the start of that road for me. And because nobody kind of tells you anything about it, you start off by thinking, I've got no energy. I feel stressed. I think I'm going to kill someone in a minute. I'm just really quick to get angry. You think you're stressed at work. Then you think you're tired. Then you think you're just not well. You put it down to everything else. And it was my friend Ross who said to me, Linda, you're 47. Do you think it's the menopause? And that was honestly like someone hit me with a train. I was like, oh, And then a sort of light bulb goes on and you have to think, maybe it is. So I went to the GP and the GP wanted to give me antidepressants. And I said, I'm not depressed. I know myself well. I think it's the menopause. And I would rather explore that than start taking antidepressants. And so that didn't go down very well. So then I had to go to a private, Roz recommended a private menopause doctor. So we did my blood tests and yes, it was definitely the hormone issue. And so he put me on HRT and that started bringing me back to who I am and back to my old self again. And that was like a revelation. So HRT for me was an absolute godsend because I had been trying to train and I couldn't. I'd go out to run and after like 1 kilometer, I'd have to stop and sit down. I was exhausted and I would then start crying and then I would get really angry because I couldn't train. So it was doing my head in. And actually I was doing Declan's head in as well at the time because for someone who's fit and active and used to being able, it's really difficult when you can't then do that, all those things. So I think, thank God, when I got on the HRT and started to get my energy back and started feeling like myself again, that we were able to, navigate the training again. And yeah, I was back to myself. So that was really good. I turned 50 in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and I'm very proud to be 50, and I'm very proud to fly the flag, for older women to say, yeah, we're doing great things here.
How was your solo row? Like, what is it like being out? You're out on the water for like 54 days.
Yeah.
What did that really, I suppose, look like on a day-to-day basis? Were you doing 2 hours on, 2 hours off? Did you, obviously, you're going after the record, how much did that consume your thoughts? Or was it more about completing, what were the realities like, eating and nutrition and fueling yourself, and also just mentally, I suppose, being solo out there on the water on this vast Atlantic Ocean?
I went out thinking I would do 3 hours on, 1 hour off. But quite quickly I decided that didn't work because I just can't sleep during the day. Even though no matter how tired I am, I just, even when I train a lot and do sessions here at home, I can't do napping and sleeping during the day. It's just something that my body just won't do. When I was rowing at night, I was falling asleep on the oars. So I wasn't rowing well. I was sort of just like jabbing the water with the oars. And then I'd wake up. And what was really funny though is I had a dictaphone around my neck sometimes. If I wanted to record something, I was saying I've recorded my journey on this dictaphone around my neck. And at night, you can hear when I'm talking, sometimes I'm dreaming and I'm speaking in my dream. And then I'll be speaking about like playing a tennis match or something really, really bizarre. And then I come back and I'm saying into it, oh, I think I fell asleep then. But I was absolutely unaware of what I've been talking into the dictaphone about. It's really weird. I quickly decided that I would just literally row all day. So I would start from about 6 a.m. and I'd have my breakfast at about 5 to 6. I'd have my porridge. And when I boiled that water, I would also make my noodles for the middle of the day. So I'd put those in a flask with the same water. So I didn't have to like boil stuff again to save time, because I literally wanted to row at least 16 hours a day. So I would start rowing about 6, and then about midday, I would stop for literally 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to eat the noodles and row again until about 6 or 7 in the evening, when I would stop for 1 full hour. And that was when I made my evening meal and sort of rested my back, and might do a little bit of boat maintenance, like the seat and things like that. And then after resting for an hour, I would row till 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, I would go into my cabin, and that's when I would try and sleep. And I would try and sleep from 10 till midnight. But I would set my alarm for 45-minute increments to wake up to check the boat was okay, still going in the right direction. There's no big tankers around me on the Garmin chart plotter. So every 45 minutes I'd wake up within the 2 hours, and then I'd do what I called the graveyard shift. So I rode from midnight to 3 a.m. That was my graveyard shift. And I'd try then and get another 2 hours sleep, again, waking up 45 minutes in. So then that would take me to 5 o'clock, and then I'd wake up and start my morning routine. So that was it. For 54 days, I had about 4 hours sleep a night.
That sounds brutal. For someone who like me, who's like, I like my sleep. I mean, I say to you, I had a little afternoon nap before our chat. I was like, I need like 8.5 hours. How is that affecting you mentally? Because like no sleep is the equivalent to torture.
Yeah.
Do you have like an iPad in front of you so you can at least watch like Netflix shows or something? Or are you just in your own head?
I played a lot of music, and I also listened to audiobooks, and I did a lot of planning as well. I do like to live inside my head because I have some great ideas in there. So I also decided that I was going to start another business. So because anyone who knows me knows I love a dress. So, well, when I go out, I love to like put a nice dress on. And so I've got this lovely collection of all these nice designer dresses. And I decided during the row that I was going to start a dress rental business when I got back. So I'm actually in the process of doing that. So I'm setting up, lindablakeleysboutique.com. So that's hopefully in a few months after Christmas, I'll be doing that. So I used the time for planning, but it was a bit like Groundhog Day. Every day was the same. So yeah, you're just left with your thoughts. But I find music really uplifting, and I love it. And yeah, like I said, I listen to quite a lot of audiobooks.
How is your bottom, by the way? Like, 'cause that's a long time.
It wasn't good.
What is it, sores you get?
Yes. And I tried to operate what I thought was a spot, but I think it must have been a boil, because I just made it even bigger, and then it was really hard to sit on, very, very sore. So I didn't operate it after that. But even when I got back, my bum was covered in like all these sort of spots and pock marks. And it wasn't very pleasant at all. And in fact, it took about 4 months to actually go away. So yeah.
Was it boils?
I think it's all spots and boils. It's just a whole mess of lumps. That's whatever they were. I don't know. I would have needed a doctor.
Sorry for listeners getting too graphic, but I'm a bit of a picker, and I don't know if I'd be able to not pick. I try and operate. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, after the mess I made on the first one, I didn't pop anymore.
But was it that you could sit down and then say, like, so sometimes with blisters, after like 10 minutes, the pain sort of goes. Was it the same, like initially when you first sit down, after 10 minutes, like the pain just goes from your bum? Or is it just?
So I had a different seat. So I took 2 different types of seat with me. One was a solid one, but it was quite cushioned. And the other one had like holes in the middle of it. So I changed the seats so that the very sore boil thing was like in the bit that there was a hole in. so there was nothing pressing against it. But then eventually I wore the wheels out on that one. So after another few weeks, I had to swap the seats back. But by that stage, it wasn't as bad as it had been.
Are you rowing naked?
I did a bit of that as well. Yeah, just because your clothes, the sea splashes over you, and I didn't realize there is just so much salt in that water. And actually, I capsized on the night of day 2, and I went in with I only brought one pair of long trousers, and I was wearing them when I went in the sea. So when I got back out, I tried rinsing them. I had them out in the rain. I just couldn't get rid of the salt water. And so when you wear the clothes that have got wet with waves crashing over you, or you've been in the sea, they just, the salt crystallizes and it just scratches your skin. And it's really, really uncomfortable. So the best thing is just to like row in pants or nothing.
Again, I don't want to make assumptions, but in my head, I'm sort of thinking I know the answer, but I just want to ask you anyway. It's like, when you're on any of these challenges, do you ever think that you're going to quit or stop, or does that just never even cross your mind at all?
Yeah, that never crossed my mind at all. I would never. You can't really quit because the boat's always going to go. I mean, I could sit in that boat and not row ever. And eventually I will end up on one of the islands, because everything will sort of eventually take you that direction. So even if you had no oars or anything, and this goes through your head, because I set out with 4 oars and I lost 2, my gates broke. And so the oars, I lost 2 oars into the ocean. And so you're rowing and I'm thinking, right, what if another one breaks? What can I do? So you're constantly trying to think ahead for what would I do if this breaks, or what would I do if that goes? So, instead of firefighting at the time, I'm sort of planning how you get around it. And I discovered I was a lot more resilient than I thought I was when I was doing the row. So that was quite nice. So yeah, I would never, ever not do it or just say, oh, come and rescue me. I don't know. Can't see under what. I'd have to literally have no boat to be rescued. And even then I had a life raft. Not too sure. I didn't have a very good life raft. So if I had to get into life raft, I'm not too sure how far I would have gone in it. So yeah, let's just say the best thing was to keep the boat functioning. I didn't do any cooking in my cabin, like never. That was a real big thing because I can't have fire or anything like that.
Reflecting back on it, looking back, what was one of those like magical moments? What was one of the, what's part of the highlight reel from that trip?
I actually had the worst day and the best day was on the same day, and that was my birthday. So it was the 11th of February and I just rode the graveyard shift. So it was 3:00 in the morning. The trance music was on in the background, and I was just feeling so deflated because I had beam on weather, like the whole start of my row. And also when I set out in really big conditions because I wanted to get an advantage. But then after the big conditions, it sort of went from one extreme to the other and I had nothing. And even then I had the weather, which was blowing me north. So as I'm trying to head south, the best I could do was just try and keep going west because I literally couldn't row south. And it was even pushing me slightly north of west. So it was demoralizing at the start. And because I wanted to go for the record, that first week, every day was going more and more into the minus numbers against what I'd set out on my chart to achieve. So I was getting more and more frustrated. And poor Simon, my weatherman, was still giving me bad reports to the point where I was saying to him, Simon, please give me something different here. So it really didn't go my way. So after about a week, when I realized, look, the record is off here, that almost felt like a relief to me. Because it took away the frustration. So then on, it just became about enjoying the row and wanting to do it in the fastest time that I could do, given what I was being given, which wasn't great. But then on my birthday, after the the graveyard shift. I had so much bad weather. I was so demoralized and I was like feeling really down and deflated. And I recorded myself saying, oh, it's my birthday this morning. I've had beam on. It's not supposed to be like this. And I was having a little sad moment. But then I went into the cabin, got my 2 hours sleep, got up, and then I feel like when I got up the second time on the 11th, I feel like that was my birthday then, even though, you know, when it was 3 a.m., literally or technically it was still my birthday. But because I then had a couple of hours sleep, I'm putting that in the previous day. So then when I got up the second time properly on my birthday and had my breakfast, I brought a little bottle of Lansing champagne with me, like a little quarter bottle, 20 centiliters. So I had that and I opened cards that my friends had sent. And also my social media guy, Barry from Shark Bit Socials, he had done a really lovely thing and downloaded all the messages of support and birthday messages and sent them via WhatsApp to me so I could connect my BGAN to the satellite and get all the messages. And that was just, I'll never have another birthday like that again. So it was just really, it turned a corner for me as well in my head against all the rubbish weather that I'd been coping with to what a fantastic experience I'm having. Look where I am. You know I'm not getting great weather, but hey, this is a journey. So whatever it is, it's got to be my journey. So I may as well enjoy it while I'm here because it's pretty special and pretty unique. So yeah, that birthday moment was really, really nice. And my friend gave me a little, Mel, she gave me a little fruit cake. So I had cake, I had champagne, I had birthday cards. It was lovely.
Oh, part of me is just thinking I'd be sat on the boat, sort of like probably feeling a little sorry for myself at 3 a.m. You're like, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. But
yeah.
Were you trying to go for the fastest female across the ocean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've met Victoria Evans. Tori is a fabulous chick. She's badass. I love Victoria. She's brilliant. So, for her still to have it, it doesn't bother me in the least because she's an amazing girl. So I take absolutely nothing away from her. She's brilliant. And that is some record to beat. 40 days is, I don't know if it'll ever be done, to be honest.
Tori's actually been on Tough Girl podcast as well. So it's, I was saying to her, I forget all the names now, but I've also spoke to the first woman to row across the Atlantic Ocean. I can't quite remember her name, but I feel as though I want to think that the record did get broken though. Was there another female rower who?
Tori's done 40 days. And they've also changed the design of the boat now that you're not allowed to go for the record in the same boat that Tori rowed it in. And, she did it the year before.
She did 2022.
Yeah.
When did you do it?
This year.
Oh God, this year. Sorry. Yeah. I was like, what year is this year? 2024. Yeah.
Nobody's beaten 40 days. It's like, yeah, I'm not sure now they're gonna need some strange weather to get, some extreme weather. Cause Tori had, she had really big seas. And what I set out in, I think she had to deal with for most of the journey. That would take my hat off to that.
This is probably like an unofficial record, but you are the first ever female to have summited Everest and Lhotse, I suppose, in the day, and rowed an ocean solo.
Yeah. There's one guy's done it, I believe, who's done both, summited Everest and rowed an ocean solo. But there's no other women's done it, so I'm the first girl to have ticked both of those off.
And I don't think any of the guys have also completed Marathon des Sables as well, which is going to be your next challenge. And how is the training going?
Well, this is where I need to pick your brains, isn't it? For the Marathon des Sables, you can tell me what the training should look like. So, but I've got an Ironman coming up first. So my coach Declan and I, we're kind of focused on that. So we've got one eyeball sort of slightly past it, looking at the Marathon des Sables, but we'll focus wholly on it after I'm doing Ironman Cozumel, which is in Mexico, and that's in November. So after that, we'll be fully into the long running then, because I still have to sort of train for fast running for my Ironman race, because I need to qualify for Kona for next year at this race, because see, this is when the scheduling happens, because doing the Marathon des Sables next April doesn't leave me any time to qualify then for the Kona later on next year. So that's why I've got to get my qualification in now.
I hear, but also it'd be great doing Mexico in November, like great sort of heat training. And if you can, like maybe like get out to Morocco. Like I don't know if they still do them anymore. Like there was a lady who used to do like Marathon des Sables like training, like you go out for like a training week. But like yeah, any heat adaptation and all failing that, hot bath with a glass of red wine.
Yeah, I'll definitely do lots of hot baths.
Have you run so obviously, you know, you're pretty comfortable and confident with the marathon distance, the 42 kilometers. Have you run an ultra before?
No. So I've got booked in the Pilgrim's Progress, the Pilgrim's Way. It's 33 miles back to back on 2 days on the 1st and the 2nd of February. So you run 33 miles one day and then you stay in their accommodation. I think we're all chucked in bunk beds, and then you get off and run 33 miles the next day as well. So back to back days, I think that'll be quite good.
Yeah, I know that would be great training. And then carrying your stuff on your back as well.
That's right. Yeah. I had a 50 miler booked in the Hibernian Hills on the 8th of February, but Declan said, yeah, let's not do that one.
But Linda, where are you most active on social media? How can people follow along with your adventures and challenges? Where can they find out more about you?
Yes, I put everything on my Instagram, blakely.linda.
Awesome. You don't have a website or anything, do you?
No.
And you've also on your Instagram has got a couple of links to some of your fundraising charities. Do you want to share a little bit more about who you're fundraising for when you do challenges?
Yeah, so my charity is Action Medical Research, and they fund medical research across the UK to help sick babies and children. It's a charity that's been going for more than 70 years, and they do the most incredible work. So they've helped beat polio here in the UK. They've developed ultrasound in pregnancy, fighting meningitis and preventing stillbirths as well. And at the moment, they're funding around 45 projects across the UK, but this is only half of the children's research that they have ready to go because they don't have the funding. So the fact that I didn't make my record rowing the Atlantic Ocean, it doesn't matter so much to me, because one of my other goals was to raise £100,000 for Action Medical Research. And the fact that I got across, I did it, and I raised £100,000 for Action Medical Research, that meant far more to me than being the fastest person to row across. So yeah, raising funds for Action Medical Research is really close to my heart.
That's an incredible sum of money to raise. Massive congratulations, because that will honestly make such a difference. So I'll make sure I include the link to Action Medical, because what an incredible organization that you're raising funds for. That must have made such a big difference. And Linda, I'd love for you to have final words of advice, final words of wisdom for other women out there who, they want more challenge in their life. They want more adventure. They want to be more active, to get out there, to really sort of push themselves. Apart from just do it, what advice would you like to share?
The best piece of advice that I would give anybody would be to not be scared of failure. I don't even like the word failure, because even if you don't achieve something specific that you've set out to achieve, the very fact that you've tried it all means that you will have reached a way there. And that's better than not trying anything at all. Because I believe that the journey is more important than the actual destination, because you can learn from the journey and it makes you the person that you are. And even if you don't achieve it, it will help you in your future goals, because you can't win them all. So if you win some of them and learn and grow from the others, then that's good enough in my book.
Absolutely. Keep learning from the journey. Absolutely amazing. Linda, you're just an incredible woman. The adventures and challenges that you've been on, so inspiring. Thank you for coming on the Tough Girl podcast to share more about your passions and love for getting outdoor and doing these incredible challenges. Just amazing, and best of luck with the Marathon des Sables.
Thank you so much. And it's great to meet you, Sarah. So I'm honored. Thank you.
Hey tribe, I really hope you enjoyed that conversation with Linda. What an incredible woman. The challenges and adventures that she has done, from Ironman to climb Mount Everest and Lhotse and rowing the Atlantic Ocean solo. Absolutely incredible. And like she mentioned at the end, and we talked about at the end, that she is training for Marathon des Sables. So for each of those challenges, whether you are planning on doing an Ironman, rowing an ocean, or climbing a mountain, I've spoken to other women who've done similar challenges. So if you need to niche down, if you visit toughgirlchallenges.com on the website, there is a resources section, and you can go to those resources section and listen to the other women who've done those challenges, hear their tips and tricks, listen to their advice and their top tips. It will help you with your planning and preparation for your next event, for your next challenge. Now, like Linda mentioned, I actually have done. You're probably aware of this. I don't feel as though I talk about it that much anymore, but I have actually done Marathon des Sables. I did Marathon des Sables back in 2016, which just seems a long time ago now. I suppose it was actually, it's almost like 8 years ago now. But I did actually record a couple of episodes about Marathon des Sables, and you can go and listen to them. There's also a dedicated page on the website in relation to Marathon des Sables, where I've spoken to all of the other women who run it, who shared their experiences about their training, their planning, their preparation, how it's changed their life. So whether that's Sabrina Pace-Humphreys, whether it's Sophie Power, Rebecca Ferry. Rebecca Ferry is also a climber as well. She's done Everest and Lhotse as well, and she followed that up with K2. We've spoken to Preet Shandy. You probably know Preet. She's done Marathon des Sables as well. Lauren Woodwith, she's really cool. She set the world record for the fastest female pair to row the Atlantic Ocean. 8 weeks later, she ran the Marathon des Sables and became the 4th female. Absolutely incredible. Elspeth Barnes, she's known as the Queen of the Desert. She's actually heading back to Marathon des Sables, actually, I think in 2025. Don't quote me on that. But she was the winner in 2015 and 2017. Absolutely incredible. Ali Young, amazing. Jane Harris, she talks about her life, travel, and completing Marathon des Sables. She also shares more about being the founder of the Adventure Sheet magazine. Marie Watson, Mina Holder. There's so many incredible women. Fiona Oakes. Oh my gosh, Fiona Oakes. So she's the vegan queen of extreme. She's a British marathon runner who holds 3 world records for marathon running. And one of the interesting things about Fiona is she doesn't have a kneecap, which is, it's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you've had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you enjoyed the time between Christmas and New Year. Now is a good time for you to spend it on yourself, focus on you, get some time outside, go for a nice walk, get out in the fresh air. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's probably a little bit chilly. If you're in the southern hemisphere, enjoy that 30-degree sunshine. I'm very jealous. Past 2 Christmases, I have been in the heat and the sunshine, so this is a little bit of a shock to the system, me being in the cold, but I'm sure I will cope. I have been doing cryotherapy for the past couple of months, and so maybe my tolerance for cold is improving. What else do I need to say? Yeah, just thank you so much. If you'd like to support the mission, support the work that I'm doing with Tough Girl Challenges, then please do visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast, and you can support the mission, whether that's monthly or whether that's an annual donation. If you just want to make a donation via PayPal, if you visit toughgirlchallenges.com, there's a PayPal button. You can make a one-off donation. Really, really appreciated. Hopefully you've been enjoying the vlogs as well. The vlogs from the New Zealand challenge, when I hiked the Tiara Trail, 3,000 kilometers from the top of the North Island to the bottom of the South Island in Bluff. That journey was sponsored by Zolio. The vlogs are coming out on the YouTube channel on a Wednesday, Friday and Sunday at 7 a.m. UK time. So please do enjoy them. The South Island vlogs are going to be coming out starting on the 1st or 2nd of January. So please do hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to hear more about your challenges for 2025. What have you got planned? What are you going to be doing? Please do send me an email, sarah@toughgirlchallenges.com, or drop me a DM at Tough Girl Challenges. If you sign up as a patron, you can also come and join the Tough Girl Tribe, which is a closed Facebook group available to female patrons and the guests who've been on the Tough Girl podcast. If you would like me to interview a specific woman about a challenge or adventure that she's done, please do let me know. What have I missed out on? Who haven't I spoken to? Whose story would you like to hear in 2025? Please do let me know. All that's left for me to say is, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, give it your all, give it 110%, get after it, go for it, believe in yourself, because I believe in you. Take care, lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.